Hello everybody, thank you for joining me today. Let's look at how we're distorting 808s. You probably know what an 808 is if you've found this video. If you don't know what it is, no problem. It's one of the most popular sounds ever used in electronic music. It is caused by taking a sine wave and putting an envelope on its pitch. So it does this. So it gives a bit of a click, and I've done a bit of FM as well. Just to add a little bit of body. I might actually take that off, leave it without FM. Okay, so I spent quite a bit of time trying to figure this out because there are many different ways that you can distort sounds, and there are many different plugins that you can do it with, but there are many different results as a result, funnily enough. And I'm going to show you what I did, but explain what I did rather than just, you know, turn this instrument on, turn this plugin on, turn this plugin on, and then nobody understands anything. So this is going to sound nasty by the end, but don't fret. Just take what you might find useful from it and ignore the stuff that's a bit too heavy or a bit too old school for you. So we're going to get from this to this. And just to put it into context, so it just has a totally different presence in the mix than it did before. So it's this. Let's get going. So first we have our 808. We get our standard stock Logic compressor. We turn down the ratio because we don't need to actually compress. We turn on the limiter and we input the gain until we get the sound that we're looking for, and make sure that we output at the end, of course, just to keep the levels where they were. And that gives us a bit of tasty, sizzly distortion. Now, if I were to try and do this with something else, looks like we've got a preamp here. Let's see what this does. That's drive, okay, no problem. Input. We're getting distortion because it was clipping here. So tube distortion anyway, we find is not going to work for our sound in any plugin. Listen to how sizzly and fat that is. That's fantastic. I'll go show you one more thing that I've tried to try and get that sound. Okay, so it's not the same. For me, it's not as good. Next thing we did is I fired up a Pultec equalizer, and you can use any equalizer you want, but I like the sound of these. I think they're kind of fatter sounding than other ones, and I did two things. I found 1000 Hertz and boosted it. And then I found 8 and boosted that. To say, try whichever one you want, but I like the sound of this thing. Next, I use the stock bitcrusher. Not sure about this one anymore, but it's there, it's doing something. Okay, this one's important. It's got 2 distortion modules. I'm only using one. Got the drive all the way up, And this is the fun part. So it's distorting different parts of the signal. Now this, you know, is to your taste. I mean, this one sounds great as well. But this is the sound that I'm going for. And then the other side is kind of does the same thing. You can blend it together if you need. In this case, I do not. Next, I'm going to put up 2 plugins because this is a high pass filter. It is simply taking away the bass. So we can distort. Now if I was to take away the filter, there's too much bass and it's distorting it and we're getting the wrong sound. Don't forget to trim the output, very important. And then I've got another one of these vertigos. I think it's the same as the other one. Just more high end. Again, if you go for the kind of high mid, they sound good too. Depends what you're looking for. And the same again. So see, the higher we cut, the more kind of high-end sizzle we get because it's distorting the top, essentially. I quite like it here. There's plenty of sizzle going on for me. And yet another one of these. Now, you're probably thinking, what could I possibly do with this horrific noise that this guy's made? This video is shite. Well, it might be shite for your needs, but actually, if you just dissect what I've just said a little bit, you might find something useful for you. For example, everybody loves those kind of... You know, you hear these bass lines and all these crappy pop songs, and it's heard and heard and heard, and it's just doing the same thing. How about you might want to just color it up a little bit? Or you could be boring and go, you know, there's no reason to be the same as everybody else. The 808 was something that was made popular in the I guess it was the 80s or 90s. I can't even remember anymore now. The Roland 808 drum machine. So that made this sound which had never really been heard before, which is really easy to make now with our modern synthesizers. And it's come back in fashion and everybody's using it in various styles: music, pop, hip hop, trap, anything electronic. And it's just totally overused, and it's time to either move away from it or make it more interesting. So let's at least make it more interesting, shall we? Okay, if you stayed with me till the end, thank you very much. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thank you for joining me. See you again next time. Bye bye.